What is this one they're voting on? Hang on a second. SB 365 to amend the law concerning autocycles and to include autocycles that operate on motor fuel. And
cast up the ballot.
I looked at this a little bit when it first came out, and
Paul Calvert, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
he's with us.
Looked like it was maybe sort of like a three-wheeled golf cart of some sort, making them sort of street legal or something.
It's just boring.
Yeah,
and a complete waste of time.
I'd like for it to be far more broad if it's what I'm thinking. Allow people to ride motorcycles four-wheelers and other.
Representative Gray, you're recognized.
Vehicles that could be used on the roadways.
Here's Michelle Gray.
Don't just make it such.
So this bill, we did skip over it as a couple of members, and I had to work through it and make sure that everything was good. Not like I would have a controversial bill. And so this one actually is not very controversial. We just had to make sure that we had it right. What it deals with is security for the marijuana facilities, the cultivation facilities, and the dispensaries.
You're going to need some mercenaries.
The biggest piece of it, so the language in it's fairly standard. I'd be glad to answer any questions on it. The one thing that I want to mention that we did kind of add to this bill to make it a lot stronger is we're saying that the facilities have to match the standards that are set forth by the DEA for Schedule II facilities. For production and storage facilities. So we're making it essentially match controlled substance standards. That's about the highest you can get because we don't have Schedule I standards since Schedule I's technically not legal. So be glad to answer any questions on it. If not, I'd appreciate a good vote. Thank you.
All right, so that has to do with the security
explanation of the bill. Would anyone
marijuana
like to speak
facilities. Let's see if anyone wants to speak against it. It looks like we might have somebody.
For the bill?
Nope, nobody.
Representative House, you're recognized to speak for the bill.
Okay, so this is kind of the
bill, and I appreciate Representative Lundstrom and Representative Gray for working with this, and we've got some real good standards on security of our premises, and I just wanted to acknowledge they worked awful hard on this. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Representative House has spoken in favor of the bill. Would anyone like to speak against the bill? For the bill? Representative Gray indicates she is closed for the bill. The question before the House is the passage of House Bill 2011. Prepare the machine, Mr. Clerk.
To amend the Arkansas Medical Marijuana Amendment 2016. Certain security and safety requirements for growing marijuana.
Voted? Cast up the ballot, Mr. Clerk. With 87 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 present. The bill is passed.
There we go. And I think they needed 67.
Representative House, for what purpose?
I'm not sure which to get it passed because it was.
Let's hear your motion.
The reason.
Vote on Senate Bill 658, please, Mr. Speaker.
658. They want to expunge the vote.
Debatable. You're recognized to explain your motion.
1 second. I want to know what they're trying to expunge here. 658 SB.
I can look that up here quick.
658.
Thank you, colleagues. 658's the loan sharking bill. Didn't have enough people in the room to pass it. I'd like to revote it when everybody's here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative House has explained the motion. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? For the motion?
All right, I'm not really sure. The reason I'm watching this the reason I'm watching this is because State Representative Dan Douglas, while we were on the break, went up and whispered into the parliamentarian's ear, Mr. Buddy Johnson. And so that makes me think he's about to try his expunge vote again.
Maybe so.
To expunge
for the road tax.
Yeah,
system.
for the gas tax increase. And it's so frustrating because we get tax after tax after tax. I'll give you another example here. If we go to Mr. Jake Files, because earlier in the day today in the House Rev and Tax, I'm also told later today they're going to try to run the internet sales tax again in Rev and Tax. These SB 140. Folks. It's a crazy day today. That's all I can tell you. It is massive. Everything's moving fast because they're running out of time.
So if y'all want to come to the Capitol,
yeah, exactly,
and stand up in committee and try to kill some of this stuff, it might be helpful.
Here's State Senator Jake Files before the House Rev and Tax Committee yesterday, attempting to pass a tax increase on hotels. and the internet.
In the easy example, they pay, let's say, $50 for a room from a hotel, and then they turn around and resell it for $100. The hotel is paying the tax on the $50. When the online travel agent collects the money, the $100 plus the taxes, they're calling it a service fee, and they're not remitting any tax beyond what was paid. But if you go and pay for the room at $100, it has taxes and fees on it, so you're paying the $100 plus the, say, 15%, so you pay $115. But none of that's being turned in as taxes, and I think that's a little disingenuous because I think you're thinking that it's a tax. So in terms of revenue, I mean, there is going to be some revenue to the state, but it's not going to be affected, I say, to the consumers because you're already paying that amount now.
I'm sorry, Representative Dotson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Files, looking at the revenue impact, it just seems as if this is estimating $765,000 in sales tax revenue increased revenues to the state, and then $235 in local tourism taxes. That's, if my math is correct, $1 million worth of increased revenue that we would be seeing. That kind of seems like a tax increase to me. Am I reading that wrong?
No, and I mean, and it's a bit of semantics because you're already paying that now. So it's not a tax increase to you, the consumer, because you're already paying those fees. They would just be remitted back to the state at this point if this passed. It's not a new tax. It's not a stacking on additional tax. So if you go to Hot Springs and get a hotel room, you're going to pay, and you book it through you book it through an online agency, you're going to pay $150 plus, say, let's just say 10%, $15. Right now, if that room was wholesaled at $75, the hotel turned the tax in at the 10% of the $75. So they sent the $750 in. The remainder of that, $165, is not being sent into the tax portion is not being sent into the state at all, but you're paying it. So it's not a new tax in terms of increasing any revenue, anything coming out of your pocket, but it is something that needs to be collected. Their justification is that in their business model, it's called a service fee. And I disagree on several levels, but mainly in the fact that you're under the impression you're paying that tax and it's being remitted to the state. So, yes, I think there is revenue impact, but I don't see it as additional money coming out of your pocket, Representative Dotson.
All right, so that's Jake Files. I'm told that bill failed the House Rev and Tax Committee, Senator Jake Files, but once again, we have Republicans who have no clear understanding of economics and how that would get passed on to the consumer, and you'd now be paying more for your hotels online.
I'm not sure what he is actually saying. I wonder if he even knows what he's saying, but it does sound a little crazy to suggest. Was he actually accusing these hotel owners of collecting a sales tax and then not sending it into the state?
No, he was saying that they are, but then he wants to tax through the internet these
the service, like
Kayak or Travelocity, because they're buying it from the hotel at a lower price and then selling it to you at a markup at a higher price,
right, basically with a service charge.
Yeah, and they're saying no, you actually owe the hotel tax and everything else that goes with it, advertising and promotion or whatever they call those things.
Right.
In addition, and it is. I mean, to me, it's just another quest for revenue. I mean, the Jake Files won't stop.
It seems like maybe some of these people have found a legal way to avoid some taxes, and he's maybe trying to close a loophole. I don't know. But the thing is, though, that leave people alone. If they can figure out a way to save some money, then why keep hammering them? Part of the issue with tax increases is when we give the government more money, they have more power.
Yeah,
I'm opposed to taxes for two different reasons. One is it takes money from innocent people, and two, it gives government more power. I like the idea of cutting taxes for both of those reasons because it allows people to keep more of their money, and it also takes power away from government.
Yeah.
This, it seems like, will give government more power, at the very least.
I'm awaiting. Well, hang on. I'm getting some updates here. So the House Rev and Tax Committee. First of all, the House of Representatives has adjourned. So it just happened. They were scheduled to be there till 8 o'clock tonight. The House of Representatives has just adjourned. I have people on the ground in the House Revenue and Tax Committee waiting on them to commence. I'm waiting on the stream to start, and I'll bring it to you live, although I know we only have about 15 minutes left in the broadcast today. I understand that lobbyists are in the room, which is no surprise, but my source on the ground inside the House Revenue and Tax Committee is saying that there might be amendments added, saying that they might try to amend SB 140, that is the unconstitutional Internet sales tax. The only amendments that I could speculate to you right now are the previous amendments that have tried to be added to this. State Representative Michael John Gray, the Democrat minority leader, has tried to add amendments to this Internet sales tax on out-of-state sellers. And let's see. Then there's another one.
So effectively, the Democrats have been keeping the Republicans from raising taxes.
Yeah, it's the most ironic thing of this session. The fact that this bill has stalled is the Democrats they want the money. They're for the tax increase. They just want to direct it. And I think we're in an undisclosed budgetary crisis right now that nobody's talking about. That's what I think we're in right now. And I think the governor's office doesn't want any of this revenue specifically allocated anywhere because we need it for Medicaid expansion. When you have Obamacare Medicaid expansion in this state for able-to-work adults from the ages of 19 to 45 in the prime working years of your life, and that program was supposed to be for 215,000 people at the most, and now there's 340,000 people on it, and we have to start kicking in more and more money of this. And if the Obamacare goes away, we're going to end up with a 70-30 match rate instead of a 90-10. We have a budget crisis, and that's why Governor Hutchinson is asking Republicans again and again and again to raise revenue. So,
but we're still going to call it a tax cut.
Yeah, we're still going to. Yeah, exactly. We still call it a tax cut. Hey, let me get my bearings here because I want to bring this to you right now. They are not streaming this committee meeting, and I don't know if they
probably haven't started yet.
Called in a session yet. I hope that this is not one of those things. Well, I'm not going to even speculate.
Yeah, I bet it'll be a few minutes before they get everybody down there.
We're waiting on this stream to start. I want to bring it to you. The SB 140 is probably going to be at the top of the list if I had to guess.
Who knows?
This is the Paul Harrell program from the Marble Palace. Paul Calvert is with me. He is an activist and a guy who stays on all these bills when he's down here. And we're going to be back in just a moment.